Thank you for inviting me here. And I have this privilege to be the last speaker today, which means several things. First of all, it is the end of the day and you are tired. So please be free to sleep. It's okay, it will not offend me. I have to admit that I'm always sleeping as soon as the light being dimmed. And another thing, this privilege also means that I don't have to keep my eye that much with the time. So I'm planning to keep you here until 6 o'clock at least. So Komplot Design was, as it was said, was founded in '87. To the left, you can see my partner. And this is how I looked like that time. And my partner is a very clever person. He's actually the intelligent part of Komplot Design. And everything stupid is represented by me. We met when we were both employed in the design company. It was an attempt to be a big design company in Denmark, which is, never succeeded and still is not. And we felt both that this ship will sink very soon. So as two rats, we left it. And of course, it happened as we predicted. So my partner was trained as an architect, and he graduated in '72. But he had a designer in his stomach. So already on the second year of his art academy, he designed this lamp, which is a classic design. It is really fantastic, really well-calculated piece of design. If you don't know it, I can explain that it is folded out of single sheet of paper. And today it is not really paper, but it's plasticized, so you can wash it in the shower. But his design initial was paper, so he invented this three-dimensional origami following curved lines, and in this case it is sinus lines. He had mathematically calculated the whole thing, and it is in production since then. He designed many of them, but some of them are in production, some not. And my background is completely opposite. So he was trained as an architect, but wanted to do design. After 15 years working as architect, he stopped doing it. And I actually dreamt to become an architect. But a month before entering the school, actually I got terribly scared of becoming an architect. I got really cold feet, and I thought that what will happen? It was in Soviet Union, and you know, architecture was absolutely terrible. They were committing one architectural crime after another, and I thought this building that I'm going to build afterwards will be used by some innocent people who will curse me forever, and it is not very easy to knock the building down. It's not happening every day. So I decided I will choose the smaller problem, design. I thought that time that it is more innocent occupation, but it is of course not. Now I know that it is as damaging as anything else what we are doing. Funny enough, it was my first big job after I have graduated in '75. It was actually a photo camera for space research. It was kind of hardcore industrial design, what I was doing. And then we started Komplot Design. And you know, we did different things. This is one of the most used objects, yeah, maybe except Coloplast thing. In Scandinavia, this is a typical marker. I wish I got royalty from them. And this is another example of what we were doing. So it was kind of wide spectrum of industrial design. But you know, sooner or later, being Scandinavian designer, you are being confronted with the problem of a chair. And we started designing chairs because we were asked to do it. And yeah, I felt very strange with it because actually, when I was studying design, I was married with another student who was studying furniture design. And I was always laughing at what they were doing at furniture design because what the fact, you know, chairs, they are existing and you are not. I had ambitions kind of to rescue the world with doing something really useful, and chairs, what's use in doing chairs? But anyway, it came as kind of revenge, I guess, for our separation. And we designed chairs. We designed many chairs. This is just a little part of it. But you know, sooner or later, as being, if you're able to reflect to the situation, sooner or later, you ask yourself a question. It's where is the real reason to do it? And what is the motivation? So you do it in a slightly different way than another one, and then another one is, of course, doing it in a slightly different way than you do. And at that time, there were kind of 600 furniture factories in Denmark. But, you know, plus all others in Europe and whatever. So the competition is enormous, and every designer wants to do it in different way than another designer. And companies are asking to do it in different way, of course, than another one. So there is no other way. You have to, with every new chair, you have to shout a little bit louder than the previous one, than your neighbor. So in the end, it ends in terrible cacophony of everybody shouting, trying to shout louder and louder. And I just decided not to do it anymore. I kind of understood that the most important thing, first of all, are not being shouted. So you don't shout to the person whom you love that you love, you know. You say it quietly. And normally you are being heard, actually. This is one thing. So maybe to be heard, you have to be quiet, at least, or maybe whisper. This is one thing. Another thing is that I thought that what is actually the trick of this Magritte statement, and why it is not a pipe, and why it is relevant. And I said, okay, well, I'm not designing chairs anymore. And this is not a pipe, so this is an image of a pipe. This is why it becomes a piece of art. So I just have to make a piece of art about the chair. It's not a chair I'm doing. And how to do that? Yeah, you have to make a very simple thing, as every child will do, because chair is actually designed for many, many years ago. It is not a new thing. It is existing, and this is how it looks like. But then how to make it so that it will still be a three-dimensional drawing, just an icon of a chair, not becoming a chair. And we are sensory animals, so we understand, we perceive reality through looking into details, into materials. We look how things are joined, how they are produced. But if we don't understand, and if we don't understand the material, then it is still being just an image of a chair. Then it means that you have to design the process, how to produce it, so that it will still be not a chair and non-designed. And this is what I said to myself, that it has to be no styling, no shaping, and no design. It just has to be a process. And this is the very simple image of this process. You have two-part tool, this yellow and blue. You have a skeleton made quick and dirty, rough and simple. You put skeleton in the tool. You close the tool, inject polyurethane, open the tool, and there is a chair. It's very simple. It's monoblock. Polyurethane is kind of immaterial material because it looks hard, but it is soft. There is no any connections. You don't understand how the rear leg is joined to the seat, and so on. And when you take it out, it stays ready to be used. And actually, it is an icon that can be used, because when you, it looks like an impossible object to sit on, but when you sit on it, it gives and adopts to the shape of your body. And because it is rubber, so it was very natural to make a stamp underneath, where the story and gratitude to everybody who was participating in the process was written. And there was also another issue in this chair. I always wanted to make a chair that is absolutely anonymous. Absolutely. So anonymous that it has strong identity. And a kind of a testing for this chair, for me, was always the chair of guardian in the museum. In all museums are staying chairs that are not corresponding neither to the art, which is hanging or staying next to them, or to the architecture. So it has to be absolutely anonymous to be able to stay under Piero della Francesca and under Rauschenberg. So if it was okay, then it's a good chair. And it happens so that, yeah, by the way, it can stack, of course. It can everything that is necessary. It can stay informations, and yeah. It can even stack like this without being damaged. You can do whatever you want. It can stay outside. And it happened so that from the very beginning, architects kind of understood the way how it has to be used. Here on this picture, you see what happened after a year. When it had 1 year birthday, we gave it a present, a rubber table. So almost first commissions where this chair was used were art museums. It was a very interesting story. You cannot put, the instruction for architects, use it in art museums. Yeah, different places. Let's go quick. And in some very beautiful interiors, sending us, postcards. I'm collecting postcards from our children that left our office, and in some exteriors as well, until it actually ended in the, I will say, one of the best places in the world, in the fantastic museum. And one thing as in the permanent exposition, but the main thing is that it is in the outdoor service in the cafe. I think it's a very nice surrounding. And it can do whatever you want. You can use it in the shower. You can just use it in the river. And then journalists asked us, okay, now you made kind of a gravestone to chair design. it means probably that you are not going to design chairs anymore. And we say, yeah, probably not, probably not. Maybe there will be some serious reason to do it. But if not. And it happened so that we got a very good excuse to do it again. We were approached by one engineer, inventor, actually, who was building up a company in Germany with fantastic invention of three-dimensional veneer, which means that possibilities to make molded plywood chairs were extended enormously. And of course, it was impossible. It was irresistible situation. And we knew that it was still pending only. It was not even properly patented. But they wanted some designers in whom they contacted in Europe to start working on it so that at the moment when everything, all patent formalities are ready, they will also have a product. So there was a little bit of competition as well. We knew that there are other designers working on it, and we wanted very much to make the first industrial product, though it took a lot of time. A lot of time to study. This is an example how normal veneer behaves. Oh, sorry. Normal veneer behaves. And this is how this 3D veneer behaves in the same tool on the same shape. So there was, it started changing in itself. Yeah, we spent kind of a year to study what actually it can and where are limits, because all technologies, they have some limits. But it made really sense. So once again, the development of the process, it's not just giving shapes, it is development of process. And we believe that if Charles Eames was alive, and if he took this technology, he will do something more or less similar with what we were doing. It was kind of realizing Charles Eames' dreams. And this is one of the first sketches we wanted to make, a lovely chair, a lovely little creature. And this is how it looked like, and we succeeded actually to be the first. And so this is the first industrial product made with this technology. So we bent edges very much down, which means several things. First of all, structural strength, which means that we could reduce the thickness from normal 10 millimeters in molded plywood shells down to 5 millimeters. So we are using only half of natural resources, compensating by human ingenuity. Then the comfort is completely different. I believe only in dynamic comfort sitting on the chair, because all sharp edges are turned away from our soft tissues, so you can move around without meeting any sharp corners, sharp edges. And then the just sculptural possibilities that are unique. So it made this kind of little pet that I believe is very friendly and waiting for you at home and kind of saying, hello, I'm tired, come in, take me. Yeah, and we sold it to company Gubi. Yeah, and it went pretty well. It still goes very well. And when the chair became 1 year old, we gave it a present, a little Gubi, a bar chair. And when it became 2 years old, it finally got a mama, a big mama. And the program we thought was complete, but in reality, we are still working on it. We are extending it. There are now tables and a number of different frames. So wooden frames came, and yeah, it is kind of work in progress, looks like forever. And interesting enough, these two children, they met each other in the same building. And thanks God, not just in permanent exposition, but really in use. And we are quite happy that they met in the right place. And some good architects are using these pieces because this is kind of an approval. We design stuff and then we hope that they will be adopted by architects, by consumers. So this is Zaha Hadid's extension of the museum in Denmark. And yeah, they are being used. And then we had a long discussion with company Gubi that the next time we are going to do something together, there has to be something really serious kind of excuse. We are keeping an eye with different technologies, and there is one that started interested us very, very much. It happened so that under the pressure of automotive industry was developed in a non-woven branch of textile industry, was developed a new type of engineered textile that can remember the shape without any additives, without anything. And what is quite sympathetic, it is also produced out of recycled bottles. So it is kind of, it's polyethylene terephthalate. I don't want to go deeper in these chemical things, consisting of two components. So it is, fiber is two-component, 2K extrusion. It is extremely interesting, exciting. I get really high when I get into some stuff like this. And of course, we wanted to design a chair and proposed Gubi that let's do it. And when I came to the factory that was producing felt, I saw workers sitting outside the smoking place on some old chairs. It doesn't matter how these chairs look like, and they put felt on it. I said, okay, bingo, you already designed it. It looks fantastic. There is very relaxed randomness in it, and something extremely basic. There is nothing more natural than to sit on a rug. So even chairless countries, they were always sitting on rugs. So this is actually the first prototype of the chair. And it is very simple. It's extremely simple, and the process that we developed is, it hardly can be simpler. So you have a match tool, male and female part. You heat 2 layers of felt, put metal frame between them in the tool, close the tool, and open it after 5 minutes or 4 minutes, where it is cooled down, and you take the chair out. And the only one operation that you have to do afterwards is to water jet cut the surplus of felt around it, and you have to put 4 plastic plugs in the legs of this chair, and that's it. And the frame is very simple. It is quick and dirty, as our American customers always call it. It's just welded roughly, and there is no sanding, no nice, touch demanded, because it is just covered as a sandwich between these 2 layers of felt. And it just looks like a chair. There is, you remember in the beginning, no shaping, no styling. It is just a simple chair. Everything is quite clearly shown. Nothing is concealed. There is a frame inside of it. It looks as nice from the bottom. It can stack without any stacking pads, not damaging each other, absolutely quiet. This material is air permeable. It has fantastic friction properties, so you don't slide out of it like from most of plastic or molded plywood chairs. And it can be even washed. And it can stay in big formations. It's pretty quiet. It has fantastic acoustic properties as well. So this chair, the room with these chairs has same acoustic properties with people or without people, because the chair as such has same properties as our body with clothes on. And of course, we wanted to go further, because you kind of get excited. This material, it can stay as such. And our fellows architects today designing we had fantastic architects in the morning, right? Designing in steel and glass and concrete, and in the result, there are terrible acoustic problems in all public buildings that have to be solved somehow, and they are being solved, of course, because they have fired all soft, unnecessary elements from the building. So there is no curtains anymore, there is no big paintings on the walls, and so on and so on. So we thought, okay, we can make a curtain, just freestanding curtain, that you don't have to ask architect for permission to get in the building. You just put it where you need. It's very simple object. It just stays and cuts all waves over 500 kilohertz out. And then happened following, as it can happen, you know, in your life, that we were called by completely strange, really strange client, who said they want to visit us and give us a brief. And it was a Swedish penitentiary authority. And it was a director of it. So what? We are going to design something for prisons. It is exciting, isn't it? Very useful. And actually, he asked us to design a chair for the prison cell. It's an interesting issue, isn't it? And then he gave us a brief, and it was a long brief, and every sentence started with no. It started with what this object doesn't have to be used for, or doesn't have to be able to do, and so on and so on. So it's like it has to be noiseless, for example, that a person is not going to smash with this chair in the metal door of his cell. It has to be impossible to use it as a weapon in fighting against each other. Because we are in Scandinavia, it is very so. They don't want prisoners to die in the prison. It has to be impossible to make a weapon out of it. It has to be impossible to hide anything in it. And so on. It was a long list. And then there was only one positive moment. It doesn't have to look too kind of public. It has to have some residential flavor. And we said, God, we have this material. It is silent, it is light, you cannot kill each other. We can try to make a monoblock out of it. And thinking about this poetic content of design, I thought about my childhood when my parents had a summer house, and every autumn they were covering furniture because of some peculiar reasons with white textile. And when we were coming again in the spring, I remember very well being a little kid that I was very excited and terribly excited, curious, and scared. What happened under this textile during the winter when I was not in the summer house? Is there still the same chair, or maybe there is living some animal under it? So the moment of uncovering was extremely exciting. So I thought, okay, there is also the image of this chair. And this is actually how it came to look like. We made half-scale model in the beginning, of course, to check if it is a completely idiotic idea and it will never work. But we have heard that we get idiotic ideas all the time, like this rubber chair, for example. The whole branch said you will never, ever be able to mold it because you cannot transport polyurethane through the legs. It will clog. But it became possible. And when we showed the idea to people who are pressing felt, they said, oh no, forget it. You cannot press that deep. Okay, we made half-scale model and it worked. But from half-scale to full-scale, there is a big step. This is still half-scale. It worked well and happened so that the director of this prison authority in Sweden suddenly dies. Sorry?
Because of this, he died?
No, because of heart attack. Yeah. Yeah, and that was end of that project because actually he was a motor behind this project, and everything came back to how it is traditionally done on their own workshops, chairs for nothing, terrible chairs. And we were visited regularly by owner of company High, and he has very long eyes. So he saw this prototype, and he said, we go for it. So we only had to make one step to make it full scale now. But the thing is that there was no factory that I could find that could press such a big item, because mathematics is very simple in it. You know, you have male-female tool. You have to put 2 sheets of polyester felt. You have to close this tool. You have to open, take the item out. It is ready just for water jet cutting. But the problem is that the press has to open 3 times height of the ready item. Male, female, and the item. Otherwise, you cannot take it out. And there was no such press existing around us. I have heard that they were existing, the companies that were pressing for Scania, but their doors were completely shut. We couldn't get in. So there was only one thing to do. We had to design a press. And we had to design a prototype press to prove that it works also in full scale. Can you imagine such stupid designers that are doing such things? And stupid customer that is paying for building this press? And moreover, this press is kind of homemade. So it means it is not approved. And in Scandinavia, if workers have to use some equipment, it has to pass through complicated approval procedure. So it means that only stupid designers could actually work on this press. Yeah, some of them looked like this. I think actually it is very beautiful. We get back to it later. But as a matter of fact, it worked. It worked. It took a year to let it work, making helping devices, fighting against the material, trying to suppress it, trying to let it obey to our still desire or to our idea how it had to work, and it worked. So this is the first series of these chairs. And finally in production, they called nobody because there is no body in this chair. It is just textile, nothing else. So the structure and the skin is the same. Yeah, and very soon it started coming into design museums. Also, it's funny thing because it is very, I think it is very silent chair. Here it is among very exciting and objects with much less modest idiom. It is London Design Museum among 100 best designs of 2008. And when this chair became 1 year old, as usual, we gave it a present, a little nobody. So the family kind of became complete. At that time, we have been together for 25 years almost at that time. Now it is 26. And we decided that we are changing our rules. We had 3 rules, basically. 3 rules it's about to remember. And one was not to do architecture, another never to produce things ourselves. And the third, the most important, that we share everything 50-50. At that time, we decided that now, after this 25 years of real marriage, we don't have to share anymore the same bedroom. We can work not doing it, and we can open possibility for each other to play solo concerts or with other musicians. And this is how it happened that I made another company that is existing parallel with Komplot Design. During one of my regular long trips to Sweden, because production, yeah, this is my partner. Many companies are in Sweden, production companies. I thought about these years that passed with very intense development of production processes, with fight with materials. And I thought, God, but why every time when I'm coming back from the production company, I have some garbage with me in the car. I'm picking the most interesting thing I find in the factory and take with me. My house is completely full with all this stuff. I have a container in the harbor, which is full with this different strange things. And the best things I could find always, it was something that was thrown away, something that was rejected. There was life in them. What was good, what was perfect, was actually not that interesting. Especially at the first moment you succeed making it, and then it is not interesting at all. Interesting stuff is what is under the machine, or next to the machine, or in the bin. And I thought about this stuff. Actually, it is also one I picked and took home. Why was I fighting for almost 2 years against something that material in reality wanted naturally to wrinkle? This is what it wants. It is its heart. It's textile. It wants, when you press it, it wants to wrinkle. And then I also thought, God, I have just been at the factory producing the best solid wood furniture in Denmark. And I have seen that they were almost making items ready. They are joined. It is just sanding left. And they discover that there is a little discoloration somewhere that couldn't be seen before you start sanding, actually. What happens? They throw it away. They burn it. Somehow, I have connected these things together in my mind, that we are just too intolerant in things. We are not accepting things how they are, and the result is that production process is more expensive, more complicated. There are rejections. I love monoblocks. We designed many monoblocks, but the problem with monoblock is if there is a mistake, you reject the whole item. It's not just a little piece. So I thought we can develop another process. Because this intolerance that is sitting extremely deep in European culture, I think, this idea of conquering the world, which is absolutely the reason of our best achievements and our worst catastrophes as well. So to conquer the world, to press it to obey this extremely masculine desire to control, it reminds me about a marriage between two people who don't trust each other, and then they want to control each other. So it means they are not confident. And suddenly I felt myself so confident with this technology. It was not necessary for me to control it. I wanted it to do like this. And this is how this next step in our design happened. I remember this picture from my childhood, and this is the sketch of this, and the only one sketch for this chair. This is the beginning of the mold. We do this stuff ourselves. And the idea is simply that I'll control what I need to control. Material control what material wants to control. So there is an area that I'm controlling, place where you sit. The rest happens as it happens. And then I want it to end to the floor so it can stay, actually. This is half-scale prototype. They came nicely from the first glance. I did it also turning my back to the press, throwing material in different way, and every time it was perfect. Every time it was absolutely wrong. But this wrongness, and they were different, all of them, they still can stack. And you understand the idea of this free molding. So you give tolerance between parts of the tool so that it can work in itself. But an interesting thing is that, of course, every wrinkle is at least 2 times material building a column, sometimes 3 times. It means that it is structurally extremely strong, which means that I can use much less felt. We can go down in the weight of felt. Finally, it was sold to the company, and we made full-scale tool. Yeah, it's pretty big, and at that time, I could actually, crisis started, so doors of company that was producing for Scania trucks were widely open, so I could get in there, and yeah, it is a very simple process. You just put felt in it, you close the tool, and it starts waving, you know, like a big fish, and then it is ready. And it is good every time. No rejections whatsoever. And after the press, the bottom just has to be cut on the water jet and nothing else. And they're simple. It is kind of a club chair, nothing else. And then, of course, we wanted to go even further because this water jet cutting, oh, how can we do something even without this water jet? And we thought, okay, that can be a lamp because then it doesn't have to stay on the floor. We can just put felt in the tool, and lampshade is ready. You don't have to cut. You don't have to touch it anymore. You have to take it out and put in the box. It's pretty simple. So we are controlling the bottom, so there is no any frame in it, whatever. It is strong, and then the rest hanging down. It reminds me about my childhood when my mom was coming in the evening, putting me in bed, and she was covering our big torch with her shawl or something else, or her skirt, and if it was not enough, she put another layer on it. It's very relaxed, very simple. Can be in different colors, of course. And this is the scheme of kind of development from attempt to control result, then development of many helping devices, long development, and full control, and then losing control over it. And finally, there is actually no control at all. And we are now applying it to many different materials, and not just physically applying, not only. It is a question of switching your mind and thinking differently. It can be even applied to injection molding. Now it is pressing different flat materials, and now we do it with aluminum and many other stuff in our experiments. But even injection molding can be done like this. If we suddenly accept that there is shrinking and there is flow marks, all of us designers who design injection molded items, we are fighting against these things. Engineers are trying to calculate flow and making mistakes every time. But okay, let's accept it. Let's accept that there is flow. Let's just be conscious about where it is and let's use it. This is plant fiber, actually. We have extensive experimentation with plant fiber, with biomaterials. And right now, we have an exhibition in Danish Design Center, which is called Lost Control. And then we thought, we cannot make a poster for this exhibition without losing control. But the graphic design is such absolutely controlled profession. You cannot. It becomes manierism if you consciously lose control. So I just called to the printing shop, and it's a guy whom I know for many years. I said, look, do you have some rests in the cellar from different works you had through last 10 years or whatever? He said, yeah, I have some. It has to be A0 format. Yeah, I still have some. Can you call around to your colleagues, other printing shops, and get all rests so the whole thing is printed on different papers? So kind of after every 20 or something sheets, it changes. It's gray, it's yellow, they're thick, thin. So there is also lost control. And this is our exhibition in Helsinki, where we were invited to Helsinki, design capital of the world, to make it. And this is basically it. Thank you for patience.
Thank you very much, Boris, for a fantastic presentation on your materials and your processes, very innovative and creative. Unfortunately, we lost control. Somebody shooting? We lost control of the time a little bit. We've got the gala dinner coming up at 6 o'clock, so we're going to have to skip the questions so people can get over there and prepare. So can you join me in thanking Boris once again for your presentation? Very nice.